Hey, what's going on, Biblionaut gang? It's Ian with Out of This World Reader, and today I'm going to be going over some series that I hope to get to in 2021. Before getting into any of these, I just want to say that most of these series I'm honestly embarrassed that I have never read before, and if there was like a booktube police, they would be busting down my door right now because there are some serious crimes being done here. So with so many to go over, let's just jump right into them. So I think I'm going to start with those that I'm completely embarrassed that I have not read before. And this first one being the Hunger Games trilogy. And I don't think it's a trilogy anymore because they had just came out with this prequel, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So I just finished this first one the other day, and I really gotta say I wish that I had read this when I was younger. I've seen all the movies and I really enjoyed those, but when I picked up the book, it was almost like boring for me because I had already knew what was going to happen, and that just really impacted my enjoyment level. I still really liked just the plot and the whole premise behind it, but kind of knowing what was going to happen just really changed my mindset on it. So I'm not going to go into much background about these because literally everyone has read them but me. And I'm still going to finish the whole series. I've got all of them so I can binge them. I still like the first one, and I just want to finish it and say that I've actually read them. This next one I deserve a slap in the face for, and that is the whole Harry Potter series. I have honestly never even picked up one of them, and that really, really ashames. I think the excuse I'm going to use for never picking up these is because I grew up in a small town and we had a very tiny library, and the Harry Potter books were always checked out, so I never really picked them up. I picked up other books instead. And that's just what I'm going to use, is I had never had the opportunity to pick them up. So I think this is one of the most well-known series to this date. It has movies around it. I've written roller coasters centered on it. I want to know why I've never picked them up. I mean, it's got everything I've always been interested in, like a magic school, and it's just, I've seen some of the movies. I've actually seen all of the movies, and I like the movies, and people always say the movies are different, but if I like the movies, I'm always more interested to pick up the books, and I don't know why I've never picked them up, and that is a serious crime. I shouldn't be on BookTube if I've never read Harry Potter, in my opinion. I feel like this series is kind of like a rite of passage into BookTube, and I feel like I can't even give you guys recommendations if I've never read Harry Potter. What's the point in listening to me if I've never read the basics? So I hope to pick those up soon because there's quite a bit of them in the series, and I think it'll take me most of the year to kind of get through all of them, unless I just binge them one after the other. So this next series I'm going to use the same excuse that I had for the Harry Potter series, and that is the Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini. This is another one that I have no idea why I've never picked up. I mean, it has so many things. It checks off so many boxes that I want in a book. It has dragons and riding and raising them. He finds a dragon egg and raises it. It's always been one of my childhood dreams, is to I remember just imagining just picking up in the woods just a random egg and just raising it as my own and becoming a dragon rider. So I mean, a whole series based around this, it's just why have I not picked this up before? This series is so popular. I believe it's literally on everyone's bookshelf and everyone recommends these, and I'm just so excited to kind of get into them finally, now that I've got for some reason only the first 3 books. So if I like it, I can just kind of pace myself or just binge them right after the next. This next one is a duology, and if it is a crime, it might be a minor crime, I'm not sure, because I've heard several great things about it, and then I've heard people absolutely hate it. And that is the Six of Crows duology. So I'm currently reading this first one, and already I'm enjoying it. I can feel like this is going to be a good one, hopefully. And I'm not that far into it, but like the whole background with like the Grisha and their different powers, and then these different characters all having like different abilities and backgrounds, kind of just coming together to make this team to go on this somewhat like of a heist. But this is by Leigh Bardugo, and I've read Ninth House by her earlier in the year, and I absolutely loved that, and I just really wanted to pick these up as well, because I just loved her flow in writing, and her just the things that she comes up with. It just, and I've only read one book of hers, but like the way that that was written was so intriguing to me that I just had to pick up these. And I'm not even that far into it, and I'm already loving it. So I hope it continues on throughout the book, because I mean it's somewhat of a big boy. Like, I'm hoping it kind of keeps me entertained throughout. This next one is by yet another very popular author, and I really want to get more into some of her works, and that is The Darker Shades of Magic by V.E. Schwab. So like I said, I really want to get into more of her works, because I've read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and I feel like everyone's kind of read those, and everyone's heard about those so far. And she's got so many more, like The Archived, Vicious, This Savage Song, there's so many works, but this one really stood out to me the most. The fact that it's got like 3 different Londons, with each having different characteristics between them, like a dark London and then like a London where magic is kind of like thriving, and just, I don't know about that. Like, London has always been like one of my favorite cities, and then there's this main character that can kind of travel between these different Londons, and he's somewhat of a smuggler. That just, yes please, thank you. I need a good smuggler story. So when the COVID outbreak really took off, I just went online and just bought all kinds of series, and this was one of them that I bought. And for some reason, I never got to him. So I've just got like the whole series just waiting on my shelf, just kind of like tempting me. And I'm going to pick it up soon, because even just talking about this makes me want to pick it up now. So I might as well just continue on with all those series that I had bought during that time when I was locked in my room for a while. And that is the Arc of the Scythe series by Neil Shusterman. This dystopian tale is following a world where humans have kind of cheated death and they can't die. But there's these scythes that go around and pick and choose who lives and dies. And we're following these 2 different characters that are scythes in training. And what really intrigued me and kind of dragged me onto the whole series was because I want to figure out like what's going through their minds and how they're determining who they choose to live and die. I mean, like, for me anyway, that would be like a hard decision, like who lives and who dies. Like, that's something that you just never read about. And I've heard that this author has just kind of made several other books that are similar in that way, that they kind of make you think and question reality a little bit. Like, this could be the future. Like, medicine and just in general science is always ever developing and growing. So I mean, in the future, this may happen. So I mean, to read about it and think about it, like, I like being just like challenged a little bit and like just question reality. But with all of them waiting on my shelf, they're just there waiting to be read. So rounding out with that last kind of series that I just went out and bought the whole thing, and that is the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. So I just finished this first one the other day, and it's a big boy. Like, it's pretty hefty, and I loved every second that I spent with it. Like, the magic system that's involved in it, the allomancy, where it's kind of centered around the controlling of different metals and how each metal have this different abilities. But I think the real reason that I got into these was everyone recommended that this is kind of like the entryway into adult fantasy, and now that I'm old enough to be considered an adult. Like I really wanted to get more into adult fantasy, and I really wanted to get into more of Brandon Sanderson's work. And everyone on BookTube kind of recommended this as a starting place. So I just went online, bought the whole series. I was like, yep, let's get into it. And I have no regrets picking this first one up. I'm hoping that it kind of continues on throughout the series, because the first book really kind of left off like on a cliffhanger of sorts, and I already want to pick up the next book, but I'm trying to like kind of savor that experience a little bit. So I'm just going to jump into yet another one of Brandon Sanderson's popular works, and that's going to be the Skyward series, which only has 2 books I think right now, and a third one is hopefully coming out soon. But this is centered around another one of my childhood dreams. But this is following like a young girl who's kind of trying to get into this flight school that kind of defends humanity against these mysterious aliens. And ever since like I was a kid, like I could just imagine like just sitting on the couch, you know, kind of just like pretending to fly those airplanes, fighting off monsters and aliens in space. And I'm hoping that kind of I experience like just giant space battles and just constant action and kind of dips and turns throughout the whole series. And I've heard several great things on BookTube about them. So I mean, it's gonna be quite the ride, I think. I think what's really gonna make it action-packed is that the humans are like on the brink of extinction, and they're having to fight like every day for survival. So that always makes like the stakes higher and the battles more just jam-packed with the action. If you guys know any other kind of books or series that take place in space, just please let me know, because I enjoy anything taking place in space, and I have a feeling that these are going to be really good. This next one I really hope is a hidden gem, kind of like a diamond in the rough, because I've heard absolutely nothing about it. Like it is flying under the radar, and that is the Girl from Everywhere series. I think it's a duology by Heidi Heilig. I don't know much about it, and I really want to go into it blind, but I gathered just a little bit on Goodreads, and basically this is like a girl who kind of travels on the magic school bus version of like a pirate ship with her father. I mean, like it can do it all. Like it can go back in space, or not in space, it can go back and forth between time and kind of explore different myths and legends, and it's the magic school bus of a ship. You might start to notice a trend here, because I'm hoping to pick up another underdogs kind of coming together to steal something that's just something that I will always enjoy, and that is the Gilded Wolves by Roshni Chokshi. This treasure hunter just brings together this cast of different characters. I'm just going to read some of them to you. An engineer with a debt to pay, a historian banished from his home, a dancer with a sinister past, and a brother in arms, if not blood. Like this whole cast of characters is just, I can already see myself kind of connected with this historian because I love history. And it's just interesting to see how like their different backgrounds, so like the engineer, like how is he gonna impact their mission, like their mission. And the fact that this is taking place in Paris is another one of my favorite cities. I really hope to visit someday, maybe when COVID kind of is over and I have some money. I'll take a trip. But the fact that it's taking place in like 18th century Paris it's just like the time of when art and history, not so much history, but just antiquities are really starting to pick up, and this gang of kind of underdogs is coming together and they're going to go steal something. So that's all I need to know. I'm going to get right into it. One that's been building up some steam lately on BookTube is the Green Bone Saga by Fonda Lee. And I think I'm going to jump on that bandwagon and get into the series. The background is really painting this Godfather-esque type of story in my mind, where I'm just imagining 1920s Chicago and Shanghai with crime, blood feud, kung fu. I've heard that the action in this is so realistic because the author actually had a background in kung fu, and she puts those elements and aspects into the story. This is centered around jade, which is kind of the drug of the whole plot, and these two fighting families are the only ones that are dealing it out. And then a blood feud kind of ramps up, and it's interesting to see how that's going to kind of like impact the whole story. This almost reminds me of kind of These Violent Delights, which I actually loved. And These Violent Delights, we were also following these two families and their feuds, and they always, like, there's a magical element to it as well. So I'm hoping that this is similar to that, but in its own way. And I just really want to get those pictures of, like, I just get those pictures of Tommy guns and speakeasies just in my mind, and I'm just really excited to get to this. And I've heard that it's really starting, like everyone's starting to pick it up now, so maybe now I can jump on that bandwagon. Another one that's been gaining a lot of popularity recently is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, and I'm totally game for this whole plot and setting that it kind of takes place in. This is following Rin, who has escaped like this future that she has never wanted, and she goes to this military academy, and I just love the whole military academy, and I'm hoping to get more of that kind of training involved into it. Like, I always love like seeing the build-up of the characters, and the fact that this is taking place in a military academy is something I've never really read about. Like, I've read about magic schools and that, but never about military academies, so that interests me. And then in her training, she discovers that she has the power of shamanism, which is involved with the old gods. So the story's kind of got like a magical element to it as well. And that is just checking off another box. And to top it all off, there's another war on the brink. So I think once I get my hands on a copy, like, I'll pick it up immediately because people are already completing it and talking about it. And I don't want to see spoilers, I just want to experience it for myself. These next two aren't so much series that I want to get into, they're more authors I want to check out more by. That first one being Rick Riordan. I've read the Percy Jackson series and the Heroes of Olympus, but I don't know where to go from here. I've heard some people say the Kane Chronicles next, or the Trials of Apollo, so I'm just hoping that you guys can help me out. So please let me know down in the comments below what you think on where I should go. And then another author being Sarah J. Maas. I've heard nothing but great things about her. She's one of the most well-known fantasy writers, and she's got so many different works out there. But I don't know where to start, whether that's Throne of Glass or ACOTAR, and her new series has just came out, so I mean, I have no idea where to start. So please let me know what your thoughts are, if you have any. Does it matter where I go from here, or do I need to start in this series? So please let me know your opinions down below. I just finished with Rick Riordan's The Hero of Olympus, and I'm really wanting to continue on with more of his works. And Sarah J. Maas is another one that I'm hoping to pick up soon, so please let me know down below. Those are just a couple series that have really drawn my eye, and I hope to pick up soon. So you guys can start roasting me down below in the comments. Let me have it. I deserve a lot of it for not getting to some of these series, and please don't, like, give me some hate, but take it easy on me. I'm a beginner out here. I'm trying to learn the ropes here. Let me know your thoughts down below on any of the books that I've mentioned. I don't know, I'm drawn between all of these. They all sound so good, so I have no idea where to go from here. So let me know if there's any of them I should get to first. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss out on another adventure. This is Mission Control logging off. I hope you have a nice day.